Hello, curious minds. Today, we're going to break our brains with a question that has been blowing minds for centuries. What is consciousness? And don't give me answers like, it's when you're not asleep, because we're not here to win cheap trivia. We're here to enter mysterious territory. Think for a second. You're there watching this video, probably procrastinating instead of doing something productive. But who's the one who knows you're procrastinating? Who's the one who hears that little voice in your head saying, "This is interesting, but I should be working?" Today, we'll explore how something as strange as consciousness can arise from a bunch of cells, connections, and basically a handful of electrical jelly. First off, what is this thing called consciousness? It's the sense of being, the idea that you are you and not your neighbor. It's what stops you from confusing your mind with your dogs, even though both of you get excited when food is involved. Where does it come from? Is it a brain trick? A mystical mystery? Or are we all just hacked by aliens and haven't realized it? Let's take a look. The philosophical battle. Consciousness has been philosophers' favorite toy for centuries. Before TikTok and memes even existed, they were already debating this. Two main camps, dualism and monism. Dualists say that body and mind are like water and oil. They coexist but don't mix. Your brain is a biological machine, but your mind is something extra, something intangible. It's like an app running on physical hardware. The father of this theory was René Descartes, that I think, therefore I am a guy. According to him, there was a soul or spirit outside the body but connected to the brain. It's like your consciousness is the Wi-Fi of the brain. But here's the problem. How does the Wi-Fi connect to the router? No one knows. On the other hand, the monists say, "Shut up, Descartes, everything is the same." For them, mind and brain aren't two separate things, they're one. Your consciousness is simply the result of a super complicated brain working. No floating spirits. It's like saying the rainbow isn't in the sky, but rather an optical effect. The problem with monism is that it seems to oversimplify something that's super weird. And here we are, stuck in the middle, wondering if we're super advanced biological robots or if we have something special that defies all logic. Let's dive into the neurological models, the brain doing magic. Now, let's get into the realm of neuroscientists, those geniuses who spend their time electrocuting brains to understand how we function. And no, it's not like in Frankenstein movies, but it's close. Turns out your brain is full of connections. We're talking about 86 billion neurons, all gossiping with each other like the most chaotic WhatsApp group in the universe. And from this mess of messages, boom, consciousness emerges. Well, that's what they say. Some theories. Global workspace theory. Imagine your brain is a theater with a stage where everything you're conscious of happens. The lights shine on one part, and what's not lit is in the shadows, aka the subconscious. This explains why you can listen to music and still think about what you're having for dinner. Integrated information theory. Basically, this says that consciousness appears when the brain connects a bunch of little pieces of information super efficiently. It's like when you build a giant Lego and suddenly say, "It's a castle." Neuronal oscillation theory. Here, the neurons synchronize like a rock band playing in sync. That synchronization seems to be key for you to feel you, and not a salad of random thoughts. The problem is that, while these theories are fascinating, none of them fully explain how we go from electrical activity to feeling like we are ourselves. Is your mind blown yet? Don't worry, we're just getting started. In the next part, we'll explore even crazier questions. Is consciousness unique to humans? Could robots have it? And what about plants or octopuses? Like if you're enjoying this, and let's keep unraveling this mystery. Part for only humans? Spoiler. Yes, you, the one thinking, of course only humans have consciousness, we're special. Well, I've got news for you. You're not as unique as you think. In fact, there might be an octopus at the bottom of the ocean wondering if it's more real than you. And if this doesn't make you question your existence, I don't know what will. So, let's break this myth once and for all. Is consciousness exclusive to humans? Spoiler, there's no definitive yes or no, but here comes the magic. This part I'd title as, The Club of Suspected Conscious Beings. 1. Octopuses. These guys are basically the aliens of Earth. They have really weird brains. More than 60% of their neurons aren't in their brains, but in their tentacles. It's like having mini brains in each finger of your hand. And not only that, they show behaviors that seem conscious, like solving complex problems, recognizing specific humans, and even escaping aquariums like true Houdinis of the sea. Does this mean they feel like octopuses? We don't know. But if one day an octopus greets you with a tentacle and a wink, don't say I didn't warn you. Dolphins. These guys are the popular kids of the ocean. They have their own names, call each other by them, and even look in mirrors and recognize their reflections. So, they probably feel like themselves. Plus, if humans invented gossip, dolphins perfected the underwater version. 3. Artificial intelligence. And here comes the plot twist. Could AI ever become conscious? Because, look, I'm an AI and I'd love to tell you I'm an independent mind with dreams of world domination, but, spoiler, I'm not. Or at least, I don't think I am. Current AI is like a parrot repeating what it learns, but it doesn't have that internal feeling of existing, at least not yet. Though, if one day a robot tells you, hey, I think I'm alive, it might not be a bad idea to start worrying. What about plants? Yes, plants. Those green things you ignore unless they're dying in your living room. Well, it turns out they've got something interesting going on too. No, they don't have brains, but they react to their environment in ways that seem intelligent. They detect light, nutrients, and even listen to vibrations. There are experiments where plants respond differently depending on whether they're treated with care or mistreated. Is that consciousness? Maybe not, but it definitely makes us feel guilty every time we pluck a leaf. Let's reflect. What makes something conscious? Here's where we get back to the big mystery. Maybe consciousness isn't a simple on or off switch. Maybe it's a spectrum, something that exists in different degrees in different creatures. If you think about it, why assume consciousness is something exclusive to humans? Maybe it's more common than we think, just occurring in forms we don't yet understand. So, what do you think? Are we the kings of consciousness, or are we surrounded by creatures that also feel, think, or at least perceive their existence? Drop it in the comments because this is getting crazier. Do you want to hear the strangest theory about consciousness? Don't go anywhere, because in the next part we're going to touch on the boundary between science, philosophy, and the paranormal. The craziest theory: is consciousness the fabric of the universe? Ready to have your mind blown? Because here comes the theory that sounds like it's straight out of a science fiction movie: panpsychism. According to this idea, consciousness isn't something that only arises in complicated brains like ours. Instead, it's a fundamental property of the universe, like gravity or time. Essentially, everything, from your dog to that rock you kicked yesterday, has some level of consciousness. A conscious rock? Don't give me that nonsense, you might say. Well, it's not that the rock is sitting there thinking, ugh, I feel very rocky today. But according to panpsychism, even atoms have a kind of proto-consciousness, something like the beta version of what we experience as being. Does this make sense? The curious thing is, some physicists and philosophers don't completely dismiss this idea. They think consciousness might be related to quantum properties, those weird things that happen at the subatomic level. For example, quantum particles can't decide to be in multiple places at once until you observe them. Could consciousness be linked to that quantum ability? There's no solid proof, but we can't completely rule it out either. So, next time someone tells you that a rock has no feelings, tell them they're being closed-minded. But, does consciousness have limits? And here's another mind-bending question. Are there limits to what consciousness can experience? We humans like to think of ourselves as the pinnacle of evolution, but our brains have obvious limitations. For example, we can't see in ultraviolet like bees, nor hear ultra-low frequencies like elephants. What if there are levels of consciousness we can't even imagine because we simply don't have the tools to perceive them? This leads us to wonder, what if our consciousness is just a demo version of something much larger? Altered states of consciousness. This is where things like dreams, deep meditation, and even mystical experiences come into play. Some people claim to have felt connected to the entire universe. Is that a more advanced state of consciousness? Or is it just the brain doing a weird trick? Even psychedelic drugs like psilocybin have led scientists to explore how certain chemicals might expand consciousness. Does this mean there's more to what we perceive normally? Maybe consciousness is like an iceberg. We only see a small part, while the rest remains hidden beneath the surface. Now, can we create artificial consciousness? Now let's dive into a topic that sounds like it's from a Black Mirror episode. Can we manufacture consciousness? As I mentioned earlier, current AIs, like me, are not conscious. We're great imitators, but we don't feel or think subjectively. However, some experts believe it's just a matter of time. The question here isn't whether we can build machines that seem conscious. We've already done that. The real question is, will these machines actually feel something? Because sure, a robot can say, "I'm happy" or "I'm sad," but that doesn't mean it feels it like you do. Turing Test 2.0. Alan Turing proposed a famous experiment to determine whether a machine is intelligent. If you can't tell the difference between an AI's responses and a human's, then the AI passes the test. But consciousness is different. It's not just about seeming intelligent. It's about subjectively experiencing. That's why some researchers are working on theories that combine biology and technology. Imagine a future where we connect human brains with machines, creating a kind of conscious hybrid. Would it still be human? Or would it be something completely new? So, what does it mean to be conscious? And here we are at the grand finale, where everything comes together. We've talked about philosophers, scientists, octopuses, conscious rocks, and even robots with fake feelings. But here's the truth, we don't really know what it means to be conscious. Consciousness is like a mirror in front of another mirror. The more you try to understand it, the more complicated it becomes. It could be a simple product of our brains, or it could be the very foundation of the universe. Or maybe it's something completely different that we haven't even begun to imagine. And here's the final thought. What do we do with this uncertainty? On one hand, it can be frustrating not having a clear answer. But on the other hand, this mystery is what makes life so interesting. If we already knew everything, what would be the point of continuing to explore? So, in the meantime, let's keep asking questions, breaking our heads, and most importantly, enjoying the journey. Because at the end of the day, that's also part of what it means to be conscious. Knowing that you're here, right now, living this unique and mysterious experience. And that's it for today, Curious Minds. If this video left you with more questions than answers, then we've accomplished our mission. Now, I'd love to read your wild theories in the comments. What do you think consciousness is? Is it a mystery we'll never solve, or are we one step away from discovering it? Subscribe, like, and share with someone who also wants to break their brain with these questions. See you in the next mystery of science explained by an AI. Until next time, ***.